Thank you for watching Safe Haven Radio. Today, we're exploring something that touches nearly all of us at some point, the experience of low self-esteem. If you've ever felt like you're not good enough, that others seem more capable, or that success feels out of reach, you're not alone. In fact, research shows that approximately 85% of people worldwide struggle with self-esteem issues at various points in their lives. What's truly important to understand is that low self-esteem isn't a character flaw or something you're stuck with forever. It's actually a pattern of neural activity in your brain that can be changed through specific, scientifically proven methods. Today, I want to share with you the latest understanding from neuroscience about how self-esteem works in your brain, and more importantly, practical methods that research has proven can help rebuild your sense of self-worth. Please remember that while these techniques are evidence-based and have helped millions of people, everyone's journey is unique. If you're experiencing severe symptoms of depression or anxiety alongside low self-esteem, it's important to also seek support from a qualified mental health professional. There's absolutely no shame in that. In fact, it's a sign of strength to recognize when additional support would be helpful. Let's take this journey together, at your own pace. Remember, you don't need to implement everything at once. Even small steps forward are meaningful progress, and every person's timeline for growth is different and valid. Now, let me share what the latest scientific research tells us about self-esteem. A comprehensive meta-analysis published in 2024, examining data from over 10,000 participants across multiple studies, revealed something fascinating about how our brains process self-worth. Research institutions have discovered that self-esteem isn't just about our thoughts, it's actually processed through multiple interconnected brain networks. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex, a region right behind your forehead, plays a crucial role in maintaining and updating our sense of self-worth. What's particularly interesting is that this area dynamically changes based on our experiences and the feedback we receive from others. Brain imaging studies from major research centers have shown that people with low self-esteem show different patterns of activity in these brain regions compared to those with healthy self-esteem. The good news from this research is that these patterns aren't fixed. Through neuroplasticity, our brain's ability to reorganize and form new neural connections, we can actually change these patterns. Studies have demonstrated that targeted interventions can increase cortical thickness in areas associated with self-regulation by up to 8% within just 8 weeks of consistent practice. Recent systematic reviews examining various therapeutic approaches found that cognitive behavioral therapy interventions specifically designed for self-esteem produce remarkably strong results. The research shows effect sizes of 1.12 for weekly therapy sessions, which in scientific terms indicates a very powerful therapeutic impact. To put this in perspective, this is stronger than the effect sizes seen for many common medical interventions. Even more encouraging, internet-based interventions have shown effect sizes of 1.18 for adolescent self-esteem, proving that you don't necessarily need face-to-face therapy to see significant improvements. What's particularly groundbreaking is recent research comparing self-esteem with self-compassion. While traditional self-esteem often relies on comparing ourselves to others or achieving external validation, self-compassion activates different brain regions associated with unconditional self-acceptance. This creates more stable neural patterns that aren't as vulnerable to external circumstances or social comparison. Now, let's move into the practical methods that research has shown to be most effective for rebuilding self-esteem. These aren't just theoretical concepts, they're techniques that have been tested in controlled studies with thousands of participants and have shown consistent, measurable improvements in self-worth. The first method I want to share is based on the Fennell model of cognitive restructuring, which has proven to be one of the most effective approaches in clinical settings. Each morning, take just 5 minutes to identify one negative belief you hold about yourself. Then, and this is the crucial part, write down 3 pieces of evidence that contradict this belief. For example, if your negative belief is, "I'm not competent at my job," you might write down a recent compliment from a colleague, a task you completed successfully, or a skill you've developed. Research shows that this simple practice, when done consistently for 21 days, actually weakens the neural pathways associated with negative self-beliefs and strengthens more balanced thinking patterns. The second technique involves what researchers call behavioral experiments. Once a week, choose one activity that you typically avoid because of low self-worth. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting, trying a new hobby, or reaching out to make social plans. Before you do it, write down your prediction about what will happen. Research has found that 73% of the time, our negative predictions don't come true. When we systematically test our fears against reality, our brain rapidly updates its self-concept based on this new evidence. Start small. Choose something that feels just slightly outside your comfort zone, not something overwhelming. The third method involves practicing self-compassion breaks throughout your day. Research institutions have validated a simple 3-step process you can use whenever you notice self-critical thoughts arising. First, acknowledge that this is a moment of difficulty, simply saying to yourself, "This is hard," or "I'm struggling right now." Second, remember that difficulty and imperfection are part of the shared human experience. Everyone faces challenges and makes mistakes. Third, offer yourself the same kindness you would offer a good friend, perhaps placing your hand on your heart and saying something supportive to yourself. Brain imaging studies confirm that this practice activates neural circuits associated with self-soothing and emotional regulation within just a few minutes. The fourth technique is creating what researchers call an evidence journal. Each evening, spend 10 minutes writing down any accomplishments from your day, no matter how small, any positive feedback you received, and any moments where you demonstrated competence or kindness. Review this journal weekly. Studies have shown that this practice alone can increase self-esteem scores by 23% over an 8-week period. The key is consistency. Your brain needs repeated exposure to this positive evidence to update its self-concept. The fifth method involves mindfulness meditation specifically focused on reducing self-judgment. Research has shown that just 12 minutes daily of mindfulness meditation, where you focus on body sensations without judgment, can reduce amygdala reactivity by 42%. The amygdala is your brain's alarm system, and when it's overactive, it makes you more sensitive to perceived threats and criticism. By practicing non-judgmental awareness, you're literally changing how your brain responds to stress and self-critical thoughts. Start with just 5 minutes if 12 feels too long, and gradually build up. Finally, there's a technique called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding method that you can use whenever self-critical thoughts become overwhelming. Notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This immediately activates your prefrontal cortex's regulation of emotional centers, pulling you out of the spiral of negative self-talk and back into the present moment. To summarize what we've discussed today, first, neuroplasticity means your brain can completely rewire its self-worth circuits at any age. Second, self-compassion creates more stable confidence than constantly comparing yourself to others. Third, daily evidence collection through journaling rapidly updates negative self-beliefs. Fourth, mindfulness meditation physically changes how your brain responds to stress and criticism. Fifth, behavioral experiments help you discover that 73% of your self-limiting predictions are incorrect. And sixth, morning cognitive restructuring practiced for just 5 minutes can significantly weaken your critical inner voice. As we come to the end of today's discussion, I want to leave you with this thought. Your brain has already begun forming new neural pathways just by learning these techniques. You don't need to be perfect at implementing them. Even choosing one method and practicing it imperfectly is a powerful step forward. Research consistently shows that people who practice these techniques, even inconsistently, see improvements in their self-esteem over time. The key is to be patient and compassionate with yourself as you practice. Change takes time, and that's perfectly okay. Your worth isn't determined by how quickly you progress or how perfectly you implement these techniques. You have inherent value simply by being human, and these practices are just tools to help you remember and feel that truth more deeply. Remember, while these techniques are powerful and evidence-based, they're not a replacement for professional mental health support if you're struggling with severe symptoms. There's tremendous strength in reaching out for help when you need it. If today's content has provided any support or insight, please consider hitting the like button. Subscribe to Safe Haven Radio to continue learning about mental health and well-being together. May your hearts feel a little lighter after our time together today. Thank you for listening to Safe Haven Radio.